Tiger fans, joined here today by head coach of the Tigers men's basketball program, Matt Croci. Tigers off to a great start, 8-0, 4-0 in conference play. Coach, year two for you. Obviously off to a really hot start. We'll kind of backtrack here going into the season. Year number two, last year you get handed a full deck here of senior guys. This year, your first recruiting class here. What was it like going into year two that was kind of different than year one?
Other than the obvious, going from being really old to really young, it's just a different personality. This group is completely different, and that's not a negative thing on the guys that we had last year. It's just different, every year is a different, is a different team. It's a different personality. All you need to do is shift one person off and one person on, and it changes things. And the fact that we had 5 seniors go, 4 of them were starters. Those guys had played a lot of minutes since they were, freshmen and sophomores. So, the natural thing is to just have the personality of the team change. So, that has been kind of fun, and we were looking forward to it going in. Again, not that we were wishing those guys to go, but just there's an excitement when you get really a new roster. I have so many new guys, and 18 of our 22 guys are in their first or second year in the program, so there's just a new kind of vibe and a new personality to the program right now. So we were excited to just see where that would go. We weren't sure. So they've been a lot of fun to coach. There's a lot of energy there. They really play well together. They like playing together. They like being in the gym together. So they're an easy team in terms of motivating them to coach because of a lot of that stuff.
So with the 8-0 start, best start in the last 15 years for you guys, you're putting some points on the board. We talked a little bit before the season. You were worried, you guys were so young, you were worried about not being able to guard anybody.
Right.
You've done a pretty good job of that into the floor. Can you talk a little bit about what's been working for you guys to put points on the board and what you've been doing on the defensive end in turn?
Yeah, we've really talked about going from being an older team who was just one of the best defensive teams in the country to being really young and much more skilled on the offensive end. So yeah, there was some concern with our defensive output, our rebounding. Those guys that we lost were big guards, good rebounders. All 4 of those starters were really good rebounders for their size and position. So we were worried about that part of it as well, not just guarding the ball, but getting the rebounds. So I think that we've just continued to work on the fundamentals and the details. There is, as young as we are, there is a mix of older guys. I think our 3 seniors, Chad, Chris, and Logan, have done a really good job of trying to just harp on defensive stuff. And they understand that, we could score 80-some points, but if we don't hold teams to a lot lower than that, or at some point, there's going to be a night where the offense just doesn't click, we don't make enough shots, we have to rely on stopping people. So they've done a good job of that, and I think the more games we've played and the longer we've gone into the season, the younger guys have realized that we've got to pay attention to details on the defensive end. We have to pay attention to a scouting report. It's not just something given to not pay attention to, right? There's a lot of time and effort put into watching film and analyzing team strengths and weaknesses and how we want to guard certain things. So I think the more we get into the season, the more experience that our young guys have, they realize how important that stuff is. In the last 4 games, we've held teams to 65 or less, which is a good improvement. And statistically, you can make numbers look good or bad. I think for us, we just feel good about the fact that they're getting better every day in practice. They're paying attention to it. They understand they have to get better, and the process to us is the most important thing.
Going to Heidelberg here next week, moving forward a little bit. Another OAC opponent. Obviously, we had the Capital game here earlier in the year.
Right.
Real exciting finish there. 2 years ago, go up to Heidelberg. Exciting finish there. Buzzer beater for them. They come here next year. We kind of hand it to them. What do you know about Heidelberg, and what does this game mean for you guys going forward?
Well, it's another really challenging non-conference game for us. Andy Buhai, their head coach, is a former Wittenberg player. Was a great player here. Was on some really, really good teams. He's done a really nice job kind of rebuilding their program, and they're sitting at or near the top of the OAC in the standings right now. So, his first recruiting class or 2, those guys are now juniors and seniors, and they've got a lot of experience. They've got a couple really good older guards that are just fantastic players. So we've got our hands full. It's it's kind of a different type of a trip. It's not an easy place to get to. It's after finals. Our guys will be here 4 or 5 days, kind of by themselves, and with the women's team, and campus is kind of dead. So we do get to focus a lot on ourselves and the team and the preparation, but it's just one of those things. We're excited to go play again, and challenge ourselves on the road. It'll be a tough go for us, but we'll be ready.
And not to backtrack, you talk about preparation. In the thick of the NCAC schedule, we got a little break here with Heidelberg and then the Kiwanis Tournament. Can you talk a little bit about the preparation for the NCAC games? I know you guys went out to Denison. You shot the ball extremely well. But what's the preparation been like for these conference games? And maybe we talk about, Coach Wally's role with the scout and things like that, and how that's been working out this year.
Right. Well, this week, the guys are doing all their academic work, presentations and papers and final exams and all that kind of stuff. And so while we have a gap in our game schedule for those kind of things, for them, Nathan and I are watching a lot of film on ourselves and reviewing and talking about things that we need to improve on. So it is a nice little break. Basketball season, you're playing 2 games a week and you don't have a lot of time to catch your breath. And we're not the only team that feels this way, but you don't really get enough time to spend on yourself because you're constantly moving on to the next opponent and scouting and getting ready for them. So this break is really nice for us to watch a lot of film on ourselves. What are we doing well? What do we need to work on? Things like that. But as we scout and get into games, whether it's North Coast conference games or non-conference games, it's a couple of days of just really locking yourself in a room and watching a lot of film and analyzing what the opponent does well, what they struggle with, where you can attack them, what you need to be ready for, and things like that. Nathan and I split up the scouting report, so we kind of alternate every other game so that one of us can focus a little bit farther ahead and break stuff down a little bit earlier. But Nathan takes a heavy role in that and, does a great job. I trust him and our players trust him and he's delivered, every single time. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to win every game, but I think the trust is there for me and our players for somebody like Nathan to really design a game plan and I think, again, with younger players, the more those game plans go well, the more they buy in, the more they trust, there's more credibility and dependability and things like that. So it kind of snowballs.
Definitely. Then finally, last thing, we hinted at it, the Kiwanis Tournament coming up.
Right.
A little bit of a different format this year.
Right.
Some great competition coming in on the men's side and the women's side. Can you just talk a little bit about Kiwanis moving forward and what you're excited for and maybe what you remember about it when you were here and all that good stuff around the holidays?
Yeah.
Obviously a special time of year.
Yeah, it's always a neat opportunity for us to be able to play at home over the holidays, to not have to travel. Selfishly, for our program to get 2 home games that we don't have to return, that's a big deal for us. But I think the biggest thing is that the local Kiwanis group, they do such a nice job of hosting. They treat all 6 visiting teams, including 3 on the men and 3 on the women's side. They just treat them so well. They're hosted well. Those coaches and players have everything they need for a 2.5-day stretch, and it's a really neat tournament for us to be a part of. It's fun to host it. It's fun to have people again come to us and. So we get a little bit of break for Christmas. We come back and have a few days of practice, play a couple games, and then we kind of go right back into conference play to finish the year. So really neat opportunity. We're excited about the teams that are coming in, and quite honestly, we haven't spent a whole lot of time looking that far ahead. We've focused on the games that we've played, and then Heidelberg coming up next week. So. I don't know too much about the teams. We certainly saw Marietta early in the year because we were at their place for our opening 2 games. So we did see them play, and know they've got a good program. And so other than that, it's a good opportunity for us to have a couple home games over the holidays.
Definitely. How much longer we got on the beard?
Well, that is the $1 million question at this point.
I figured that's what it was.
It is coming off at some point. I think the odds are stacked against it lasting the entire season. That just doesn't happen. So I know at some point it's coming. I know my wife every day is probably rooting more and more for us to lose. She won't admit that, but she would like it to come off. So, yeah, so it's been kind of fun, and the guys are giving me a hard time about how much gray is in there. So can't change it. Just kind of roll with it.
You gotta love it.
That's right.
All right, Coach. Well, good luck. December 20th, Tigers travel to Heidelberg, 3 p.m. against the Student Princes. And then you can catch them back in action here in Springfield on the 29th and 30th for Kiwanis. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.